States.
Oh, hell. It's Nancy Grace, y'all. I don't know what's going on TikTok or YouTube. Can you guys see me? It's like freaked out for a second there. Can you guys see this?
Divorce. But why? According to everybody I've asked and the scriptures that I've found, it's because it hurts people. But does abuse hurt people? How do you think God feels about that?
Robinson County 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I just want my family to know where to find me.
I got this lay next to her body and spent time with her body about 4 times this week, and each time it still didn't hit me. I thought she was going to wake up. I even tried to raise her from the dead one time this week.
Oh, I forgot about all that, man. That is crazy as hell. Y'all, YouTube, is it better now? I don't know what the heck happened at the beginning, but it was freaking out.
Okay. To my knowledge, that's
I
only
gotta shrink myself down
happened
too.
twice in history. There was Lazarus, who was raised from the dead, if you choose to believe the Bible, and I do. And then, of course, there was Christ. Now, did I just understand John Paul Miller, the husband of a beautiful, beautiful on the inside and the out young woman, Mica, now dead? Did he just say I laid next to her body and spent time with her body 4 times this week and it didn't hit me? I thought she was going to wake up. I even tried to raise her from the dead.
Yeah,
Okay.
that is crazy.
Lauren Conlon joining me, investigative reporter,
Insane.
co-host Primetime Crime on YouTube. You can find her at popcrime.tv. Lauren, did I hear that right? I need a reality check. Did he just say he tried to raise her from the dead and he laid by her body 4 times and he still didn't realize that she was dead?
Yes, Nancy, you're correct. He said that. John Paul Miller has said a plethora of odd statements.
That is a maniac statement.
And I also want to point out that when he announced his wife's death, it was almost like a side note at the end of this sermon, which just did not sit right with me.
In the last days, the FBI has raided Mica Miller's husband's home. Why?
She's intense, y'all. Mica Miller, husband's home. Like, dear Lord.
With me, and
I'm here for it.
All-star panel to make sense of what we know right now. But before I get into the raid, I want to speak to Anna Francis. This is Mica's sister. Anna, thank you for being with us. Were you surprised at all when you learned the FBI? I'm not talking about Andy and Barney from Mayberry. I'm talking about the FBI raiding his home. Were you surprised at all?
Is that an Andy Griffith joke?
I don't think we were necessarily surprised with anything that happens anymore.
That's right. Thank
It
you, Carol.
seems like no matter what is going on in this case, there's things that are happening in right and left field the whole time. So our family's basically just staying hopeful that justice will come for Mica, but nothing can surprise us at this point.
While many speculate as to the reason the FBI raided, swarmed Mica Miller's husband's home,
Jello, thank you.
Many believe that somehow, some way, it relates back to this.
Investigators at Lumber River State Park are notified by a kayaker at 4:23 p.m. that a body is in the river and a black bag with ID and money found on the bank of the river is turned over to law enforcement as well. Officers recovered 2 spent casings and 1 live round on the bank of the river, and there's no sign of a physical struggle.
Bizarre.
A regional pathologist is called to the scene for assistance. Mica Miller is found submerged in the river beside tree limbs about 100 feet from the casings.
To Anna Francis joining us. This
Virginia,
is Mica's sister. When did you
TikTok, hit the follow button, by the way. A bunch of new people coming in.
learn that Mica had passed away?
That night, very late, and I got a call from my brother. Actually, it was about midnight almost, and my brother goes to bed very early, so I knew something was wrong. So he told me what had happened, and I just couldn't believe it. I said, there's no way. She's probably just hiding somewhere. She probably faked it just to get away. But just disbelief is what happened first through my mind for probably weeks.
With me, Regina Ward. This is Mica's sister's lawyer, attorney for her family.
Right.
You can find her at attorneyreginaward.com. Regina, thank you for being with us. Why is it, do you believe, that so many supporters of Mica still believe that somehow the husband's responsible?
Well, obviously, there are too many questions that are unanswered.
Didn't she say? I thought the attorney came out and said, like, there's no investigations. You know, the family is asking you guys to stop protesting. Did I make believe that? Did I get Mandela affected and that didn't actually happen? Because I swear I saw that happen. Isn't it weird? Yeah, with his attorney. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the hell's happening, y'all. But it is crazy as hell.
Things that don't
YouTube, hit that thumbs up button too. It's crazy as hell. You haven't liked the video yet.
add up to a logical thought pattern. And so those types of things obviously keep it questionable. And the other thing, I guess at the end of the day, as far as eyewitnesses to what happened, to say really what happened on that day. And without that information, looking at everything else, Mr. Miller's bizarre behavior after the passing of his wife, so many things, and plus the history of that relationship certainly makes anyone look at that and say things just don't. It just doesn't pass the smell test. It just doesn't add up.
Well, for so long,
I thought you said it was over.
She had lived basically under a reign of fear. She was undermined at every turn by alleged affairs, her tires being flatted, her car being taken, one thing after the next, after the next, after the next. Long story short, we do know this. Listen.
Mica contacted police after her estranged husband posted an indecent photo of her on a Facebook group called Big and
Oh, hell. Was that confirmed?
Nice curves. Police told Mica since the photo was posted anonymously, there was nothing they could do. John Paul Miller apologized to Mica
thank you.
via email, telling her, "I'm sorry for
Forgot about that one.
putting a picture of you on the internet." He added, "I just wanted to try and hurt you." He also included, "It was evil of me to do that."
Of course, it has been ruled a suicide.
Dang, that is crazy to say something like that, though.
Yet that is not stopping protesters. Straight out to Eric J. Davis, private investigator licensed in this jurisdiction. You can find him at RDFIG. That is Richardson, Davis, and Forrest Investigative Group. And for my purposes, he's former FBI supervisory agent. Eric Davis, thank you for being with us. I find that very difficult to believe that the pastor puts in writing, "I'm sorry for putting the picture of you on the internet. I just wanted to try and hurt you. It was evil of me to do that." Yet that has not been prosecuted. So how hard is it to prove? I mean, I'm sure everybody's heard of IP, Internet Provider Address. Any such transmission can be traced directly back to the computer from whence it came. It's like a fingerprint. Then we've got in writing, the man apologizes, he did it. Posting.
I imagine he's probably in the picture somehow too. You know what I mean? Like in the pic, like behind her, like in the mirror, you could see him or something. You know what I mean?
Her indecent photo on a site called Big.
Oh, by the way, TikTok, come over to YouTube if you want to watch the video with us. It's on the Mystery Project. We're live there right now as well. Links in the bio. The Mystery Project. Search it. Come subscribe.
And nice curves. Really? And that wasn't prosecuted, Eric Davis? Why?
Well, it may be prosecuted. The FBI conducted a raid and brought the evidence response team into JP's house. And that could have been for a myriad of reasons, but certainly that would have been one of them.
Right.
To check the computers for any evidence that he had sent it or his phones. And other things they could be looking at could be a white collar offense having to do with the church and money movement. It's hard to know until you get a hold of the affidavit. And When you have a search warrant, that means a special agent went to a judge.
That's crazy as hell. He's I never seen that picture. It's him just holding a kitten. Not even that helps your likability.
Convinced the judge there was probable cause of a federal crime, and the judge agreed and permitted the search warrant. But the affidavit, I'm sure, is sealed right now, so we can't read it yet.
Oh, yeah. You know what? Eric Davis joining us from Richardson, Davison Forest Investigative Group. I like what you just said, because you know how the feds love a money trail. But that said, Karen Stark, I need help. I need a shrink. Karen Stark, renowned psychologist, joining us out of Manhattan, TV, radio trauma expert. You can find her at KarenStark.com, Karen with a C. Karen, thanks again for being with us. Posting your wife's photo. Anna Francis, was it a naked photo? Was she clothed in any way?
From what I could tell, it was a naked photo, Nancy.
Oh,
but it was blurred.
hell.
And every step of the way, the police
This is crazy.
did not investigate when she complained about anything that had to do with cohesive control, ways that he was subtly, very subtly,
I've never seen that picture of her either.
taking over her life. And he was tracking her, and they said they couldn't investigate that. They didn't investigate the photo. She was married. They kept coming up with reasons for
Oh, hell. Desiree, thank you.
why they could not help this
Let's get it, y'all.
beautiful woman whose life was taken over by this pastor.
Karen Stark, I agree with everything you just said, but my question was not that. Your response was unresponsive. I asked you about a man that would
Damn, she calls people out, huh?
post, well, any woman, much less his wife's, naked photo on big and nice curves. I mean, what a POC, technical legal term. You got to help me out. I don't understand the thinking, Karen Stark.
This is what he's all
Well, he's into that stuff, probably.
about. And he knows that if
He's into that crazy
he
stuff.
does that, he's going to humiliate her. It's
Yeah.
one more way that she doesn't feel good about herself.
Guys, we are learning that in the last days, the FBI has raided the home of Mica Miller's pastor husband, John Paul Miller. This as protests go on outside the church, outside his home.
Yeah, we're going to get into the church here in a little bit, too.
Why did the FBI swarm his home, taking out bag after bag after bag? What's happening? Listen.
Pastor John Paul Miller isn't home when the FBI evidence response team shows up to raid his South Carolina home. The FBI won't say what they're looking for, and FBI spokesman Kevin Wheeler tells USA Today the FBI is conducting court-authorized law enforcement activity, and due to the ongoing nature of the investigation, will be providing no further comments on the matter. The lawyer for Pastor John Paul Miller, Russell Long, claims the FBI is on a fishing expedition. There was no affidavit attached to the search warrant. Therefore, I have no idea what it's in relation to. All day long, members of the FBI's evidence response team go in and out of the home carrying paper bags and other items from the home.
Oh,
I just
hell.
want to let you know that I'm alive and well, and I'm going through a lot, and it's hard. Circumstances would change. I pray that the fear inside would flee in Jesus' name.
It's very hard to believe that Mica Miller is dead, her body found submerged in a body of
Jenna, thank you.
water. Joining me in all-star panel, but I want to go first to Christiana joining us, who claims that the pastor, John Paul Miller, begged her for nude photos. Christiana, thank you for being with us. What happened?
Oh, hell.
He came into the restaurant where I was working back in
Oh, yeah, this is the waitress lady.
February and left his phone number on his receipt. And I'm a very curious person, and you can't be too cautious these days. So out of curiosity, I looked him up to see who he was. I saw
hell.
that he was a pastor and quite possibly married. And I guess I didn't react like most people would, and I was suspicious, and it made me angry because I've grown up watching similar situations to this take place. So I thought is there something I can do? Can I perhaps report this to his church or contact his wife or something? I wasn't sure. I ended up talking to a friend of mine who had a friend who had attended the church and had a very bad experience. So I ended up getting some information from that friend. And
What? Jenna, thank you.
when I spoke with him, I didn't let on that I was aware of anything about him. And I
Sarah, thank
ended
you.
up with screenshots of him asking for nudes and just being generally sleazy.
Okay, I want to hear the whole thing, Christiana. What do you mean by generally being sleazy?
Oh
Lord.
Just, well, he said that he wanted to see, well, he asked if I had a picture of me with just a mermaid tail. I do character
Wait, what? Tara, thank you.
appearances for birthday parties and things as a mermaid. And
With just the tail?
he was saying that in response to one of my photos, asking if I had one, basically asking if I had a top.
I have a question. Okay.
Yes.
Well, wait. So you're a waitress in a restaurant. He comes in.
Yes.
He gives you his phone number, right? And you start communicating by text and phone, I guess. And he wants you to give him a photo of you with nothing but a mermaid tail on.
That's correct.
Okay, hold on. Let me just digest that for just
They said the FBI was fishing. Sounds like John Paul Miller was fishing.
a moment. Okay.
No? Mermaid, just the tail? Never mind.
You mentioned this was in February of what year?
This year.
2024. And
whoa,
that would have been just before Mica was found dead.
Yeah,
in
that's like
April of
2
24.
months.
Okay, I'm going to circle back to that timeline. So you said he was asking for nude photos. Oh, excuse me, plus a mermaid tail. And what did you say? You said he was also generally sleazy. In what way?
That's right.
And all this time, you knew he's not only married but a pastor to boot. So what happened?
We didn't text a whole lot. It was for about 2 weeks, just occasional. I guess I just kept the line of communication open enough to get the screenshots, and I wasn't really sure what I was going to do with it from there because I had learned from my friend that his church had a history of covering up his behavior, and I was unable to find any way to contact his wife at the time. There was a Facebook page in her name, but I gathered that he was running it and I didn't know if he had any access to it. And I couldn't find anything else, so I just kind of...
Did you ever tell him you knew he was a married pastor?
I did not.
What did you do with the screenshots? Did you ever show them to anyone?
So, well, initially, now after I found out about Mica, I had talked with another friend and said, should I text him and see how he responds? And my friend was like, yeah, if you're up for it, go for it. Because his friend was covering some of it. And so I sent him a text and I just played it off and said something like, hey, stranger, how have you been? Anything new? And this man responded with, yes, lots new, LOL, days after what happened to her. And so I have a screenshot of that and all of the previous screenshots, but I haven't done anything else with them except I sent the entire conversation to Regina so that she would have the full account.
You know, that's really interesting that he is coming to you, a waitress he spots like a shark at work, gets your number and immediately starts asking you for naked photos. This, in comparison to what he just told WPDE. Listen.
Never once in any way, shape, or form. Not in any type of abuse, not physical, no type of abuse ever. I took
Man, you crazy as hell.
better care of her than any man could have possibly taken care of her.
That's from our friends at WPDE ABC 15. Hold on, let's analyze that. Anna Francis is with me. This is Mica's sister. He says, not once in any way, shape, or form, not in any type of abuse, not physical. And then he backtracks. No type of abuse ever. I took better care of her than any man could have possibly taken care of her in any way. Does that include hitting
That is crazy
on Christina in a restaurant and asking for nude photos? Then just days after your sister's death by gunshot wound, her body found submerged in a body of water. He writes, lots happening, LOL.
There's a lot that he.
Oh, that was after it happened? Tara, thank you. I didn't realize it was after. Man, you crazy as hell. Lots happening.
Will try to cover up for the rest of his life and try to deny and tell himself that that's not the truth when everyone else around him knows that that's not the truth. He will still continue to push his narrative for the rest of his life.
Anna, I appreciate your thought that he will live in a mental and emotional hell of his own making. But let me ask you a question, okay? When a snake, let's just say rattlesnake, bites and kills someone, you think it feels bad about that? Or does it just slither off and look for the next victim?
I don't think snakes have feelings, and I don't think he does either.
I wouldn't count on him to live the rest of his life in emotional turmoil about the way he treated your sister before she died. Yet this is what he says to
Dang.
WP.
By the way, YouTube, hit the subscribe button and hit the thumbs up button. TikTok, hit the follow button if you're new here. My name's Patrick. If you like true crime, we're talking about JP Miller right now, the Mica Miller story. And if you want to watch the videos, TikTok, you can come over to YouTube, the Mystery Project on YouTube. That's where you can find the video, the channel, everything. Subscribe. Armani, thank you. Randa, thank you. Y'all, thanks for the gifts on TikTok. It's the only way I can go live every night, y'all. I'm not monetized on TikTok. I don't do any of that stuff other than the live gifts and the subscription. So thank you for that. Come over to the Mystery Project on YouTube. Let's keep going.
DEABC. Let's listen to that one more time.
Never once in any way,
PKH,
shape, or
thank you,
form.
Brandon, thank
Not in any type of abuse, not physical, no type of abuse ever. I took better care of her than any man could have possibly taken care of her.
Peachy, thank you.
Please join us on our mission to find missing people, especially children, to solve unsolved homicides. If you're on the go, catch us on your favorite podcast app where you can get all of our
I forgot to cut out all the commercials and stuff. Tara, you're going haywire. Thank you.
Content where
I
we
did get a little fresh cut. Thanks for noticing, y'all.
Our own way.
Mm-hmm.
Robeson County 911. What's the address of your emergency?
Hi, are you able to trace the location of my phone?
You don't know where you're at?
A national park. I just want my family to know where to find me.
While Mica Miller's family and friends hold service beachside for Mica, John Paul Miller delivers a eulogy for his estranged wife, Mica Miller, at Solid Rock at Market Common. Miller seems to cry without any tears while talking about how he tried to raise Mica from the dead. Claims he laid down with his wife about 4 times, and when he took a dog tag necklace Mica had given him to the mall to get it fixed, he saw a woman wearing Mica's dress with the same tattoo and hairstyle. He calls out, "Mica!" But it was her sister. Thought he had raised Mica from the dead.
That is crazy.
Dead.
Okay, whoa, wait. He thought he raised Mica from the dead, according to him. After that, can we believe anything he has to say? But let's go to the here and now. But when you look at the here and now, let's just say, when you don't know a horse, look at his track record. What a history of, let me say euphemistically, turbulence this couple has had. Listen.
After Mica's tires have been slashed and a GPS tracker is removed from her car, she gets an apology email from John Paul Miller. In the apology email, Pastor John Paul Miller tells his estranged wife, quote, "When someone hurts me, I try to hurt them back rather than forgive." He goes on to say,
that ain't, that's not so turn the other cheek of you.
Quote, "Instead of forgiving you, I just attack and try to cause pain."
Okay, I'm not quite sure why he
wow.
is attacking her, What has she ever done to him? Now, there you hear he apologizes for slashing her tires. He admits he had a GPS tracker on her car, but just like posting the semi-nude photo of his wife to something called Big and Nice Curves, I've never even heard of that before, nothing was done. And now
You never heard of that before, Nancy Grace?
Mica is dead. But that's not all. Listen to what Mica told police herself.
Mica Miller calls police February 10th to a Walmart parking lot to report her car stolen by her estranged husband. She explains to police she has been hospitalized against her will, and while she was in the hospital, John Paul Miller got her purse and keys. She tells police she has known her husband since she was 10, and he groomed her while she worked for him at their church. Police tell
10?
Mica since they are still married, the car is marital property.
I thought it was like 15. Did we hear 15 or 14? Now it's 10?
And they can't charge him with anything.
I don't understand. Lauren Collin, investigative reporter, you have him apologizing in writing for surreptitiously posting her semi-nude on some freak site and getting some kind of a weird kick out of it. You have him apologizing for slashing her tires, for putting a GPS tracker on her, yet local law enforcement did nothing. You got a woman crying in the Walmart parking lot and nothing happens? What is wrong?
Nothing happens, Nancy. It's completely heartbreaking. And as it was just stated, she was hospitalized against her will. So this is just another form of JP Miller's alleged
that's Mica.
Coercive control.
To Dr. Kendall Crowns joining us, a renowned chief medical examiner in Tarrant County, that's Fort Worth, never a lack of business at the morgue there. Lecturer at the esteemed Burnett
That's crazy.
School of Medicine, TCU. Dr. Kendall Crowns, thank you for being with us. I just want to make sure. Many people do not believe that Mica Miller committed suicide. I know she bought the gun. I've seen the video of her buying the gun. I know what she said to the 911 dispatch, but yet I still want definitive proof. Okay? Call me a doubter.
Right.
But I just want to know, now,
No, that's
how can we
everybody.
prove that her gunshot wound was absolutely self-inflicted? Help me, Dr. Crowns.
Certainly. So based on the autopsy reports, she has a gunshot wound
He's got a little Steve Buscemi going
on the right side of her head that has stellate tears, a muzzle impression, and black
That has what
particulate
tears?
material.
What?
Yeah, stellate tears, which are when the gases of the bullet go into the scalp, it pulls up and it creates this kind of stellate wound pattern on the skin. She also has black particulate matter in the wound, which is from gunpowder. So the one thing is, so this is a
Dr. Kendall Crowns, if someone held a gun to your head and shot you point blank, a so-called contact wound where the gun is making contact with your head, you'd get all of that. That doesn't tell me it's suicide. That tells me she died of a contact gunshot wound.
That's correct. A contact gunshot wound will cause all that. If someone executes you, they would have to hold you in place or somehow subdue you and then shoot you in the head.
Oh, Lord. Y'all, the Mystery Project. That's it right there. Follow, subscribe on YouTube. Do it.
So all we have is a contact wound. But you have the context of she makes the 911 call, she purchases the gun, and then she is found with the gun, or found in the water, but guns at the scene with 2 fired casings. It all has kind of the fitting of a suicide. Granted, someone could have shot her in the head.
Entertainment, educational purposes only. TikTok overlords and YouTube overlords. Y'all calm down.
But it would be difficult to shoot someone in the head without subduing them in some way, tying them up, cuffing them, or filling them.
Unless you convinced them it was the right thing to do. Dr. Kendall Crowns, I know you spend most of your time in the morgue, which is a whole nother can of worms for me. But that said, yes, people have been convinced to commit suicide. I'm sure you recall Heaven's Gate, That was a new religious movement at the time.
Oh, hell, Heaven's Gate. I remember that.
Where many people, a couple of dozen people, were convinced to commit
Bop, 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 bop,
suicide.
bop. I'm gonna try to stop it from saying that word, y'all, because
To go
you guys know how it is on these dang sites.
To the hereafter. And then, of course, there was the pastor, Jim Johnson, that convinced people to drink poisonous Kool-Aid. Off the top of my head, I can think of Michelle Carter, who convinced her very, very tender, young, innocent boyfriend to inhale carbon monoxide till he dies.
Dear Lord.
Yes, people have been convinced to commit suicide. It has happened.
I agree with you. Individuals have been convinced to commit suicide by other individuals. But what you were referring to earlier was someone shooting her in the head at contact range. Was she convinced by someone to kill herself? A possibility. Do I think someone was standing there and pulled the trigger? It's questionable. So,
right.
Oh, it's questionable, he said. We love the TikTok shop. We love the YouTube now has a YouTube shop. Looks like the TikTok shop, but it's YouTube. They got Walmart and stuff on there.
Right there. You know how I like hard evidence. I don't want to talk about how she may have been convinced to commit suicide. I want to talk about
gosh dang it.
About the possibility that she was shot by someone else.
Ooh.
Okay. That she was convinced to purchase the gun, convinced to call 911, and then someone else pulled the trigger. Is it far-fetched? I don't know. Is it? Because many, many people, right or wrong, believe she didn't pull the trigger. So is there any hard evidence? I know her body was in water, submerged in water, Dr. Kendall Crowns. So if there had been gunshot residue.
She said Dr. Kendall Crowns.
On her hand, we know that when you pull a trigger, nearly invisible particulate emits from the gun, as fine as baby powder, and gets on your hand, and it can go as far as 3 feet. Well, proven to go as far as 3 feet. All of that would have been destroyed in the water, or would it?
I believe the gunshot residue would have been destroyed in the water itself, yes. So by placing her in water, you could potentially cover up some of the evidence.
Dr.
Oh, hell.
Kendall Crowns. I know you are the medical examiner. You are the esteemed lecturer. I know that. But isn't it true?
How are you going to lead with that and then go into but?
True. When medical examiners are trying to determine manner of death, we know she died of a gunshot wound. Manner of death. Was it an accident? Was it a homicide? Was it suicide?
Ooh, I got that one.
You look at extrinsic evidence, evidence that is not related to the body itself, such as the 911 call, such as the video of her purchasing the gun. Isn't that true?
That's correct. You use all that information to help you determine the manner of death.
So in this case, are you relying on extrinsic evidence or evidence obtained from her body when you say you believe it was a suicide?
So you would use both. You would use the evidence obtained from the extrinsic evidence that she purchased the gun, she made the 911 phone call. Then you would look at the evidence on the body, the contact range gunshot wound, the fact that there's no evidence of restraint, and no evidence that she was drugged or anything of that nature. So you would use all those findings to make the determination
Georgetta.
of suicide.
Thank you for the
In addition to Dr. Kendall Crowns, renowned medical
numbers, y'all.
examiner, as you know, Anna Francis is joining us along with her lawyer, Regina Ward. Anna, the sister of Mica Miller, was a full autopsy done on your sister? And if not, why?
It turns out there was not a full autopsy done.
Regina Ward, did I hear that correctly?
There was not a full one done.
How dare you?
Was not a full autopsy?
That's correct. But you have to remember legally who had the authority to ask for one of those, and that would have been her husband, Mr. Miller.
Oh, hell.
John Paul Miller's ex-wife, Allison Miller, filed for divorce from John Paul Miller after finding out he was having an affair with their babysitter and his best friend's wife, Mica.
Man, you crazy as hell.
Mica Miller was married to John Paul Miller's best friend, Jeremy Deese, whom Mica married when she was just 18.
What does John Paul Miller say? How can we analyze his behavior? Take a listen to him. This is from Celebration of Life.
I want to read one of the more recent poems she wrote.
Oh, hell. At least it's not one you wrote.
And that's nothing. She was so creative. It was just always just coming out of her. Imagine being married to that. It was like that in our house all the time.
Man, you
Is he
crazy
actually
as hell.
crying or was he laughing? That clip is from the official Solid Rock Ministries Facebook page. I would take that down immediately. But that said, Anna Francis is with me, Micah's sister. That has just got to make your skin crawl whenever you watch that.
Absolutely. And he was laughing, by the way. That was not a cry. That was a laugh. You were
Oh, God.
correct.
You know, Karen Stark joining me, renowned psychologist, TV, radio trauma expert. Karen, how many times have you seen people try to cry and they're, but nothing,
Tears with the
there's no tears. There's not any, even snot, nothing.
Nancy, look at everything that he's saying. I have to agree with you. I mean, this man is not crying.
Thank you.
We all know that. There's no tears coming out,
Thank you.
and he's doing so much self-comforting, touching his face, touching his eyes. He can't stop touching himself because how dare you?
Don't say it like that. Don't say it like that. Don't say it like that.
He's so anxious. There is nothing about this person that's grieving over the loss of his wife. And when we know the backstory, and it's a horrific backstory, how could he be talking about his loss, her creativity, all the wonderful things she did, and how he is the only one? How narcissistic is that? He is the only one that really cared about her.
I want to go back to Regina Ward, Micah's sister's lawyer. She's at attorneyreginaward.com. You were there. You observed some of the federal raid, the FBI swarming your house. And I got to tell you something. That's one thing I do not want to see. The FBI picking through my trash in the backyard. No. That does not bode well. Now, we know because Eric Davis reminded us, Eric Davis joining us, PI, and jump in, Eric, if you have a thought on this, and I'm sure you do. We know that typically when a search occurs, that the affidavit of PC probable cause is attached. What makes them want to enter the premises? What are they looking for? That's what's on the PC affidavit. It was, in this case, not attached. So what did you observe, Regina, during the raid?
Yeah,
I observed the FBI raiding.
thank you, Nancy. I was there once I learned that the FBI had arrived on the scene to execute that search warrant. I wanted to go, obviously, myself there because I have an interest, obviously, in this case, all the way to the end, getting the law changed so that we can take.
I thought you said it was the end when they did the settlement. Y'all came out saying this is the end. Stop protesting. You even said the family wants you to stop protesting. What changed, y'all? Maybe I think I'm Mandela affected. Did I Mandela affect? Did anybody else Mandela affect with me?
Get people like Mr. Miller in handcuffs for the things that he's done. But as far as the FBI conducting their search, obviously they're bagging things, putting them in paper bags. They put them in boxes. They've covered most of the things that they brought out of the house, obviously for various reasons. You know, we do have this thing called the chain of custody with regard to evidence. And obviously anything that they remove from there, they're going to want to make sure that it was bagged, as they say.
Oh, hell.
Tagged appropriately, labeled appropriately, because, you know, criminal defense attorneys can challenge those things. Obviously, we want, if and when the indictment does come to arrest John Paul Miller, we want that to stick. We want him to be convicted, and so it's very important that all of that.
Right? Oh my God. By the way, TikTok, hit the follow button if you're new here. Keep tapping the screen like crazy. Let's go for 50,000 likes. If you guys want to watch this video with us, you can see the video on YouTube. All you got to do is come over and find the Mystery Project. Go ahead, the Mystery Project. Simply Samantha, thank you so much. Thanks for all those Novembers. Y'all were trying to hit 25 of them. I appreciate it. And YouTube, if you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe and hit the thumbs up button. Did we get 100 likes? We did. Let's get 200 likes, y'all. Come on. All right, let's keep going. I'll shut up now.
The evidence be carefully handled. And
well, what did you observe? What did you observe? That's on the FBI, how they're going to handle the evidence. And I guarantee you, if they're coming out with those brown paper bags, they've got everyone sealed to secure the chain of custody. But what did you see? I know he was out of town when it went down. I'm sure they knew that before they went in. But how big were the bags? How many bags? What did you hear? What did you observe?
Yes, during the time I was there were multiple size bags and boxes, what I would refer to as grocery bag, brown paper grocery bag type things that came out. The one thing that I was excited to see that was not bagged or covered was an all-in-one CPU. And so immediately my mind went to, yes, there's going to be some digital evidence there. We would hope anyway, that could lead to the next step. And the most important next step here, of course, is getting that indictment. The search warrant itself, whenever they execute that, they're looking for additional information.
An indictment for what? You can't indict someone for cheating on their wife. Why are they searching his home? Does it have anything to do with this? Listen.
Days before his home is raided by FBI agents, Pastor John Paul Miller files court documents with the South Carolina Secretary of State for a new religious incorporation that he's calling Living Water Church at Market Common.
Man, you crazy as hell. Naming it Living Water Church.
How dare you?
I mean, I know that's intentional. At least it seems like it. I don't know him. I'm not him. Who knows? But that seems intentional, and that is crazy as hell.
The filing states the nonprofit corporation is for religious, educational, charitable, and literary purposes. The business address is listed as J.P. Miller's personal residence in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Miller also formally changed the address of his church, Solid Rock Ministries, to its current location. The business address for the church since 2006 has been the same address for the home he shared with his first wife, Allison.
The FBI raids the home of Pastor John Paul Miller months after his wife Mica's death was ruled a suicide.
Sorry, I gotta mute out certain words so TikTok and YouTube don't get mad at me.
Why? Why now? What are they seeking to prove? Joining me, an all-star panel to Eric Davis, private investigator. What, based on what we know, is the purpose of this raid? What are they looking for, Eric?
Well, as you know, sometimes the feds come in when local
probably evidence, if I had to guess.
Law enforcement fails to take action or is unable to take action. So if I'm the case agent, given this history of John Paul, I'm looking for fingerprints being taken. They're not taking fingerprints to find Mica's fingerprints. They know she lived there. They're looking for fingerprints of someone else. There's a myriad of reasons they could be looking, but it could be white collar stuff, which the computers would have a lot of evidence of his financial transactions. So it could be a number of things based on his history.
You know what, Eric Davis, you're so right. The fact that you and Regina observed it and you're analyzing it, that digital evidence is clearly something they're looking at, seizing devices such as computers, laptops, and so forth. Could it have anything to do with John Paul Miller filing with the Secretary of State for a new religious incorporation he is calling Living Water Church at Market Common. Is it
That
about
is
that?
crazy. Simply Samantha, thank you.
Is it about, as you said, allegations of underage sex?
Underage
Why did the
above.
FBI
Jeez Louise. Thanks a lot, Nancy Grace. There it goes. Y'all, make sure you hit me with a super chat because YouTube is about to get mad as hell. TikTok, thanks for the gifts. Thanks for subscribing because there you go. That's why. Oh, hell. Help support the show, y'all. Help support the show so I can watch these kind of videos. Simply Samantha, thank you.
be doing that? Well, think. Use that noodle. Remember Jared Fogle, the subway pitch
Oh, God, not Vogel.
man? He was taking minors
Bop, bop, bop,
across
baby,
state
ba, la,
lines,
la, 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 la,
enter
la.
the feds for sex
Oh, my God. This is going to be crazy as hell, y'all.
with minors. Translation, statutory
Grapes. Grape soda, grape soda.
So if the feds want in, they will find a way in. And I've just got to ask you, Anna Francis is with me, Mica's sister. Everyone is talking about his affairs, his sex misconduct dating back for really decades, allegedly. But that is not the grounds, cannot be the grounds for a criminal proceeding. What does it feel like to have your sister gone and to feel he is somehow responsible, even though legally he may not be, and nobody does anything? No one ever followed up with him slashing her tires and apologizing, posting her half nude without her knowledge on some freaky website, putting a GPS monitor on her phone. All of those are actual crimes, and nothing was ever done.
That is crazy as hell.
Yeah, that's a very heavy and loaded question for sure. Our family just stays hopeful through this process that justice will come for her. Nothing could ever be enough for what she actually endured, but we hope that accountability will happen. It's definitely necessary for her, for many other people that endured what he had put them through. We're really trying to focus on who Mica was as a person to get through this as a family. We're focusing on what she was going to do with her life. The last few months that she was still with us, she was organizing her new charity, Waymakers. She called it Waymakers because God always makes a way. You know, through her trials and
that's beautiful.
through everything.
Not Living Water Church at what?
That terrible that was happening to her. She always said God will make a way, and we are trying to be her hands and her feet by carrying through her charity, doing events. We actually have one coming up November 16th in Market Commons. We're going to have Mica's first Mica's charity event. We're calling it Mica's.
Oh, it's the music festival thing.
Benefit concert, actually, because she was a singer, and this is something that she was going to do. And we're going to carry out everything that she was planning on doing. And this is how we can have justice for Mica, is still be her voice and her hands and her feet.
Remember, John Paul Miller is innocent in the eyes of Lady Justice until he is proven beyond a reasonable doubt of criminal wrongdoing. Right now, he stands just as innocent as me or you.